A fast revision of the GIT slides, the important salient features of the GIT slides. Number one, we'll start with the esophagus. Esophagus, lining, epithelium, mucosa, submucosa, everything is there. But the salient feature of the esophagus is, in the muscularis mucosa, usually it contains inner circular and outer longitudinal. Here you will be having only the longitudinal layer only. That is the salient feature of the esophagus. Second thing is esophageal glands, cardiac glands. It has two types of glands. One is normal esophageal cardiac gland that will be present in the submucosal layer, but you will be having something called as extra, that is called as esophageal glands proper, that will be present in the submucosa. In the submucosa, in throughout GIT, only in two areas you will be having glands. Number one is the esophagus, you will be having glands in the submucosa. Another one is the duodenum. Only in these two areas you will be having glands. And the most important one is you will be having throughout the GIT, you will be having the Meissner's plexus and the myenteric plexus. The Meissner's plexus is the submucosal plexus. It means it is present inside this. So when you talk about the submucosa, in other areas nothing will be there except in the esophagus and the duodenum. You will be having esophageal glands and the Brenner's glands. But here in other areas you have to mention this Meissner's plexus. What is that? Meissner's plexus. Meissner's plexus is nothing but the postganglionic parasympathetic plexus. That is the nerve plexus. So if they will ask whether it is sympathetic or parasympathetic, you should answer it as parasympathetic plexus. What is the role of this? Is it controls the mucosal activity. That is the role of the Meissner's plexus. Myenteric plexus means otherwise called as Auerbach's plexus. That plexus will be present inside the muscularis layer. Muscularis externa. Understood? Muscularis externa, between the inner circular and outer longitudinal layer of the muscularis externa. That is called as myenteric plexus or Auerbach's plexus. So these two plexus will be asked. Okay, that's the important salient feature of the esophagus. And the esophagus, other GIT slides, the lining epithelium is simple columnar. But for the esophagus alone, the lining epithelium is stratified, squamous, non-keratinized. Stratified, why stratified? Multiple layers are there. Non-keratinized sweat area. So this should be, so point number one is the non-keratinized epithelium is different, and number two, the muscularis mucosa contains only longitudinal muscle, that is a salient feature. Number three, submucosa contains glands, that is the most important feature. These three are the important features of the esophagus. Now I will go to the pylorus. Pylorus, if you see the stomach, if you see, you will be having these important cells present in the stomach. We will ask about the stomach. When you see the stomach, you will not be having the villi. Instead of that, can you see the surface epithelium? The epithelium is going inside. So they form the pits. You can see the shallow pits and deep pits are placed in the pylorus. So gastric pits, shallow pits, the important feature between the stomach fundus and pylorus. We will divide this stomach, fundus and the pylorus. Fundus, you will be, point number one, you will be having a shallow pits, and then pylorus you will be having the deep pits. Number two, what are the cells are present in the lamina propria? Lamina propria only you will be having fundus, funding glands. So what are the funding glands? Most importantly, two important funding glands you should answer in the exam. One is called as parietal cells, another one is called as chief cells. Parietal cells and chief cells. Parietal cells is otherwise called as oxyntic cells, and chief cells are called as zymogen cells. So OP, you keep it in mind, OP, parietal and oxyntic cells. What does it secrete? This secretes, OP secretes what? Chief cell secretes pepsinogen and renin and gastric lipase. Okay, these three, pepsinogen, renin and lipase. Here it secretes HCl and intrinsic factor. HCl and intrinsic factor. Okay, next thing is deep, and here you will be having pyloric glands. Pyloric glands, the same type of cells will be there. More number of mucous neck cells will be there. So surface cells, these four cells you have to mention in the funding glands. Surface lining cells, regenerative cells. Obviously you will be getting regenerative throughout the intestine. Regenerative cells, mucous neck cells is an important feature of the stomach. It will be present only in the stomach. Mucous neck cells and parietal cells we have seen, and chief cells also we have seen. And last one is enteroendocrine cells. If you want, you can add the enteroendocrine cells also. This is a difference between the stomach, fundus and pylorus. So whichever is given, they will ask the difference between these two. This has a shallow pit and deep pit. Fundus, you will be having the funding glands. What are the cells present in the funding glands? At least you should cell surface lining cells, regenerative cell, mucous neck cell. That is an important feature. This mucous neck cell will be more in the pylorus. Neck cells are more in the pylorus. That is the difference. And then oxyntic cells and this. And here important salient feature of the stomach is muscularis mucosa, submucosa, nothing is there except the mucinous plexus. And the next one is last is muscularis externa in the stomach. It is very important because it contains 3 layers: inner oblique and middle circular and outer longitudinal. These 3 layers, because the stomach has to digest the food. So you need 3 layers. And the next one is here, if you see, you could see can you see the fundus, gastric pits, very shallow gastric pit. You can see the simple columnar epithelium. You can see the lamina propria. Lamina propria this contains glands. And then next is submucosa, and then muscularis externa. Here you can see the muscles. That's all about the stomach fundus. Next layer, if you see, pylorus. See, look at the pits. It's very deep. The pits are very deep, and you have the pyloric glands here, and the rest of the layers are some. Mucous neck cells are more in the pylorus. And next, if you see, intestine. Okay, so now I have come to the intestine. Intestine, you will be having the villi, and look at the villi. Villi is going up and coming inside and forms the crypts. Can you see the villi is going up, surface elevation, and then come down as the crypts. That's why it is called as crypts of Lieberkühn. They secrete the intestinal. They are also called as intestinal glands. What are the cells present in the crypts? You can see the crypts nicely. In the small intestine only, you will be having the goblet cell. Don't ever set the goblet cell in the stomach. Stomach doesn't contain goblet cell. So here what are the cells are there? Surface, the regenerative cell and enteroendocrine cell is common for everything. Here extra cells are goblet cells and the Paneth cells. Goblet and Paneth. So goblet, throughout the intestine we will be talking about the goblet cells. So you should add goblet cells only in the intestine because it gives the material for the lubrication purpose. So goblet cells you should add, and other layers are all same. And the viatory plexus, everything is same. These are the lacteals or lymphatic ducts. Okay, so crypts of Lieberkühn is nothing but the villi is going inside. It is called the crypt of Lieberkühn, and it is opened at the bottom of the villi. So we'll see. Look at this. This is a very important spotter. That is your duodenum. You can see the villus is going up and it is coming down and forms the crypts of Lieberkühn. Can you see this? This is the crypts of Lieberkühn. Understood? These are intestinal glands. Now you can see it is present in the lamina propria, and the next layer is the submucosa. Here and all you will be having inner circular and outer longitudinal, except in the esophagus only. I said only longitudinal layer is present. And if you see down, you could see lot of Brenner's glands. Brenner's glands, what is Brenner's gland? These are all alkaline glands and mucosecreting glands, and this is a type of tubuloacinar glands. They secrete bicarbonate rich fluid. So this is tubuloalveolar glands or acinar glands. And the next layer is you have the jejunum. Jejunum, you can see the long villi and crypts of Lieberkühn are seen, and no Brenner's gland, no Peyer's patches, and inner circular and outer longitudinal layer, and last serosa is seen. So no such difference you can see in the jejunum. Next I will go to the ileum. Ileum, the important feature of the ileum. Here we will see the colon. Where is the intestine? See, ileum, what is the important feature? Everybody knows the Peyer's patches is the important feature. Peyer's patches is present in the large intestine. So, lamina propria, and it may extend into the submucosa. So, Peyer's patches very important. It is lymphoid aggregation. Even you can see the lymphoid nodule also. Here, Brenner's gland is seen. Okay, Peyer's patch is not seen. Okay, anyway, it is already there in the slide. So when you draw the ileum, you have to draw the villi, and this is the villi. Here we will be drawing the simple columnar epithelium with the goblet cell in between. So you have to draw the epithelium up and then goblet cell again. Goblet cell doesn't have the nucleus, so while drawing the nucleus you have to put 1, 2, 3 columnar. So you have to put the longitudinal like this. Nucleus should be like this. Don't draw flat nucleus. And then like this, and goblet cell doesn't contain the nucleus, so like this you have to draw the villi, and down you will be having the lamina propria contains crypts of Lieberkühn, and in the lamina propria only you should draw the lymph follicle, lymphocyte aggregation, that is pale patches. Even you have the germinal center also, that is pale, and the outer one is very dark. Okay, that is the pale patch which is present in the lamina propria. It may extend into the submucosa, and then next layers are all same. That is about the ileum, and we'll see the colon. Colon, you do not have the villus. Instead of that, you will be having the crypts, and crypts are full of goblet cells, you could see. And here we do not have the Paneth cells. That is the most important feature of the colon. You do not have the Paneth cells. So here rest other layers are all same. You can see the the other cells are all same. You can see the crypts nicely. Goblet cells it is seen. Lymphatic aggregation is also seen in some areas, and last appendix is also similar, but in the appendix you will be having the lumen, small lumen, and you will be having the smaller crypts lined by columnar and the goblet cells. And here also you will be having lot of lymph nodules. That is the most important feature. Here you have just lymphocyte aggregation only, but here lymph nodules will be seen in the appendix. That's the most important feature of the appendix. So last I want to summarize most important features of the intestine are GIT is stomach, esophagus, and then stomach. Next is intestine, last is colon. Okay, esophagus, the salient feature I said is esophageal glands, and the muscularis mucosa contains only longitudinal layer, and esophageal glands are seen in the submucosa. And here in the stomach you will be having two important features. Stomach you will be having the gastric pits, in the stomach fundus gastric shallow pits, and here you will be having the deep pits, and here the cells are surface absorptive cells, mucous neck cells, oxyntic cells, parietal cells, regenerative cells. Everywhere you could see regenerative cells and the surface cells. Enterocrine cells, these are the cells. At least minimum you should tell parietal cells and the oxyntic cells, parietal cells and the chief cells. This two you should mention particularly. Here you will be having more number of mucous neck cells, and here you will be having 3 layers in the muscularis externa: inner oblique, middle circular, and outer longitudinal layer. Here in the intestine, duodenum is there, ileum is there, jejunum. And duodenum you will be having the Brunner's glands in the submucosa. That is the most important feature, tubuloalveolar glands. And in the intestine you will be having ileum, so you will be having pale patches in the lamina propria. That is, this is the lamina propria, this is in the submucosa. And in the jejunum you will not be having anything. Here you will be having all over the intestine, you will be having crypts of Lieberkühn. That is more important. It is not present in the stomach. In the stomach you will be having only pits with the cells. What are the secretions of these two cells you should mention. And then see, crypts of Lieberkühn is present here, and the mucosal other layers are all same. And then in the colon you will be having what are the cells present here? Surface absorptive cells, and it's the same thing, regenerative cells and enterocrine cells are all same as stomach. But here you will not be having mucous neck cells. Instead of that you will be having Paneth cells and the goblet cells. These two are very important in the intestine, small intestine. And in the colon you will not be having the villi. Instead of villi you will be having the crypts, the same crypts of Lieberkühn, larger crypts of Lieberkühn with full of goblet cells. So you should draw more number of goblet cells. So the diagram is very simple. Don't complicate much. You should draw villi, and you should draw the normally you should draw the simple columnar with the goblet cell like this. But for the stomach you should draw the shallow gastric pits, and you will be drawing all the glands here, parietal cells, sieve cells, neck cells, and stomach pylorus you should draw deep like this, and then draw the epithelium like this. Don't draw it ulta. And here you will be having pylorus, you will be having glands like this, and lamina propria is the one which is just put the ears in color like this everywhere, and then in the lamina propria only we will be having the glands. And then muscularis mucosa you should draw inner circular muscle and outer longitudinal layer, and then next you draw the muscularis externa, oblique layer, circular layer, and then longitudinal layer. This is how you have to draw. For the villi you have to draw goblet cells in between, and then you draw this, and then down you will be having the duodenum, means you have to draw the lamina propria like this, and then down you will be having the submucosa only, you will be drawing the Brunner's gland. And in the colon you should draw depressions down. So villi is going up like this, but the crypts are coming down, full of goblet cells you should draw. Understand, that's the important feature of the colon. And the last is appendix. When you draw appendix, a small lumen, so it should draw crypts will be very small, few crypts will be lying outside. All are lined by simple columnar, but you will be having lymphoid aggregation. That's all about the intestine.